Greetings, this is the Crunchy Fat, and this will be part 2 of What If Female Deku Was a Sith. Now, I do apologize for not recording for the past while. I had gone a cold. I'd gone a cold, so it took me a while to shake it off. Mainly because of this whole, the thing that I'm not allowed to say on YouTube now, apparently. So, yeah. Anyway, so this video probably won't be as long as the last part, because the last part I was sort of like improvising on the spot. I had no clue what to do. So I'll continue from where I left off. Actually, hold on. I might try something different this time. So we'll cut to Bakugo's perspective back on Earth, as he's currently training with his quirk to go to UA, as he's going to apply there. As once Bakugo comes in from his training, he would hear a knock at his door. As Bakugo would go and answer it, as two Jedi Masters would be at the door, as they would ask if they could come in, as Bakugo would say sure, as Bakugo would yell, "Hey, old hag, some Jedi Masters are here." Mitsuki would yell, "Katsuki, how many times do I have to tell you not to call me an old hag?" As she would then enter into the room, as they would sit down, as the Jedi Knights would ask them both to take a seat, with the Jedi Knights then stating that they regret to inform them that Masaru Katsuki Bakugo, I think his name was Masaru. If I'm saying it wrong, or if it's the wrong name, do correct me. As they would say that Masaru Bakugo was killed on a mission by a Sith. As Bakugo's quite surprised, because his father was very impressive with a lightsaber and quite adequate with the Force, but he didn't think that Sith would be able to beat him that easily. As Mitsuki would start crying, as she would ask, "Do you two know of the Sith that killed him?" As the Jedi Masters would say, "Unfortunately, we have very little information on the Sith, though we do know that around the same time, Darth Maul had disappeared. So we can assume that this Sith was an apprentice of Maul, who had been told to deal with Bakugo, Masaru, and ended up killing Maul afterwards." As they would continue by stating, "So we assume that the Sith is fairly powerful. Due to Maul being trained as an assassin, it is very unlikely for him to be killed easily. No, not killed easily. Is possible that his apprentice managed to get a jump on him. So we will do everything in our power to bring this Sith to justice. And we are very, very sorry for your loss." As Bakugo would be incredibly pissed, as he'd slam his hand into the table, as Bakugo would say, I swear, I will kill that Sith, if it's the last thing I do, I do not care. I do not care what Hero Society will say. I will kill that Sith. As we cut back to Izumi. Yeah, I think either you guys suggested the name Izumi. Give me a sec. Actually, the top rated comment was Izula, so that will be her name. As we cut back to Izula, who is currently staring out into hyperspace in her on her now capital ship. As one of the captains would say, my lord, we appear to be approaching Republic space. May I ask, what is the meaning behind this? As Izula would say, it's a very simple plan. Around this area is a Republic station, and my plan is to perform a little hit and run attack. If we take out this station, the Republic will be severely weakened. Not severely, but a trade route will be lost. And this will cause the Republic to spiral into chaos. Now then, are the troopers ready? As the captain would say. Yes, ma'am. Several of our troops are ready for the mission. As Izula would say, good. Drop out right here. As they drop out of hyperspace, as the station would be around a couple miles away from where they are right now. As Izumi would say, send out the troops now. I'm not risking us being detected by Republic vessels. As the troopers would have been sent out with some spacesuits and jetpack towards the station. As a couple minutes or hours would go by, as they would then make it to the station without being detected. As they would then plant several thermal detonators all over the station without them being noticed. As they would then eventually make it back to the ship. As Izula would be handed the trigger, as she would smile in delight, as she'd look over to the Republic station and press the detonator. As several of these thermal detonators would go off, basically destroying the Republic station. As it would then explode, destroying all ships that were nearby, except for hers because she was a couple miles away from it, and all the people who were on the station. I'll say the station was about it's about as big as the Republic medical stations that were used during the Clone Wars. So they were that big, so I'd estimate around 6,000 people would have been killed by the explosion. As Izula would watch in delight as her mission to destroy the Republic and everything they stand for would begin to crumble before her eyes. As news of this would make it back to Earth, as the government on Earth would basically be debating over what will happen to the Earth, on what they should do about the situation. No, a lot of them do not know who is responsible for this because nobody was seen near the station. Now, some of them accused these attacks on pirates, on pirates mainly, and a couple unnamed Sith and a couple Sith lords who could have possibly done it. And they're currently trying to narrow this down. They have no idea who would have caused this amount of devastation. As the news of this would reach the public, as they're wondering why hasn't the Republic done anything about this. The Sith Lord should have been caught by now and put on trial, as Bakugo is now even more determined to deal with the Sith Lord. As we then cut forward a couple months later, I'm not going to cover the UA entrance exams. So, because actually, you know what? I will cover the UA entrance exams from Bakugo's perspective. I know this might get annoying, but I'm going to be doing Bakugo's perspective because I can't think of anything that Izula could do. As we then cut to Bakugo during the entrance exam, as he's excelling highly in the exam, as he would then a couple weeks later, he would get his acceptance letter and be accepted into Class 1A. As Izula, on the other hand, would encounter a few more Jedi. Now, I'll say she is facing off against a group of about 5 Jedi. Yeah. As Izula would have ignited her lightsaber, as she would then engage them in a duel. Now, she doesn't have both ends ignited, so she only has the forward-facing end ignited. As she would basically be dueling these Jedi for a while, using Form 5 and Form 7, switching between them. As eventually, she would down 2 of these Jedi. I'll say they are Jedi Knights. Yeah, they're Jedi Knights. As most of them, 2 of them would have been downed. As the 3 remaining that were standing would all go to attack her at once. As 1 would attack her from behind, and 2 would attack her from the front. As this would happen, Izula activates the other side of her lightsaber and blocks all their sabers at the same time. As they're shocked at the fact that the Sith Lord has a double-sided lightsaber, as a lot of them would try to retreat. But one of them, who was a straggler, was eventually caught, and would eventually be caught and pulled back using the Force into Izula's lightsaber blade, killing them instantly. As the 2 remaining Jedi who are trying to escape would eventually make it back to their ship, as they'd power it up and start flying off, as they would see Izula on the ground looking at them, and as they look closer, they see that she is smiling, as they would be confused by this until they hear a beeping noise that eventually gets louder and louder and louder. Hold on. Sorry about that. As the beeping would get louder, as they would then look under the console for the ship, as they would see a thermal detonator was placed there. As the detonator would explode, destroying the ship as its remains would crash to the ground. As Izula would then walk off back to her ship and then fly off. And that is where I'm going to end this part. I do hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'm sorry if there wasn't enough action in this. It's mainly because I'm sort of like trying to steer towards a more storytelling type point rather than mainly focusing on the action. Anyway, I do hope you guys enjoy it, and I will see you all next time. Ta-ta!